So this Chinese artist who has his image uh, painted into all these famous scenes in the history of art, he's making himself the content of the whole legacy of human genius and creativity, and that's what we're going to be able to do with our virtual reality. We'll be making ourselves act out, being Moses or being Leonardo da Vinci or something. You'll have a virtual movie created for yourself based on Leonardo's life, and you have yourself acting it out. So more and more people are going to make themselves, as Donald Trump says, it's all about him. Everybody says that Donald Trump is a narcissist, that he's just always just about him. The media diet people have today could be seen as more and more people seeing that it's all about themselves, because the media, their Web 2.0 environment reflects themselves. So this artist putting himself in every scene of cultural history is the sensibility of people today, as they have more and more of their narcissistic users' content ability to control their media diet. It's going to be more and more all about themselves. And this is what could be the appeal of Donald Trump. Now, I was thinking about my chart. I have a chart. Now, let's see. This is actually what I'm interested in talking about. From 18 to 40 to 1900, you had the Global Village. Then from 1910 to 1960, you had the Solar Theater. In 1970 to 1990, you have the Universal Membrane. And then you have from 1995 to 2010, the Mythic Erogenous Zone. And then you have from 2011 up to now, Millennial Ecstatics of Five-Bodied Expressions. So this is what people are doing. They're using, mixing and matching and juggling their five bodies, their chip body, TV body, astral body, chemical body, and mystery body. And they're able to do this with the media apparatus that's available for them, with a paramedia apparatus. And I think that's a clue to what Trump's doing, because this article on Trump goes into how he doesn't finish his sentences, he jumps from topic to topic, he takes what he sees on TV as reality, and they're just focusing on how his mind is controlled by TV consumption, but he's also very involved with Instagram and Periscope, was it? I was talking to somebody about Periscope. There's this new thing where you can project your own video broadcasting. And so he's doing all that. And the old analog media, even the electronic media, don't have any way to get on top of it, to dictate the audience's response and interpretation of what's happening. So it's pretty interesting that the president, I've said this for many years, the presidential races, the battle for the White House is such a major art form. It always expresses what's going on. People say, well, music reflects the society it's made in, or art reflects the society. Well, the management of the president in the office of the White House is a major programming of the global theater. And so it responds to the dynamic of what people are being mutated by. So, George Bush Jr. was symptomatic of the year 2000. I said there would be no election after 1997. So he had no election in 2000. The Supreme Court decided it. Obama was a different kind of no election. He just had so much unique charisma. Nobody could even stand up against him. So he just walked in. And then you have now this Trump phenomenon, which is expressing Web 2.0, moving into Web 3.0. So that's what's been on my mind. And on the chart, you have Rumpelstiltskin, and the chart revolves around Rumpelstiltskin. Well, the president is usually the Rumpelstiltskin figure. So you have really a ecstatic expression of the five-bodied situation in the latest Rumpelstiltskin, Donald Trump. And what was I reading today? Oh yeah, the Pat Buchanan is saying that the establishment is unhinged. They don't know how to get a grip on controlling this Rumpelstiltskin that's happening. So I'm sure that what we're doing in Iondom is some factor in this. There's something about what we're doing that Trump's expressing. Since we're the hidden ground, the ion effect, it has to be that Trump is expressing something about what we're doing to matter and substance and the environment. Is there anything that you can come up with that could tell us?
Well, I found it very interesting what you're saying, that the environment is like your selfie.
Yes, your selfie, good point.
And it's very amazing how what the Renaissance idea of this tactile artist that erases all boundaries between art and science is then personified by Leonardo da Vinci, and in a way is what we are going to. And,
Well, we are Renaissance people, in the sense that the Renaissance human, the cliche, the Renaissance man, he was able to jump around from knowledge to knowledge because the printed book brought a whole bunch of new information. Well, the Renaissance man, Eric McLuhan likes to he likes to say that we're in a new Renaissance, but he calls it the electronescence. But there is the encyclopedic act of multi-bodied expression is the new form of Renaissance, new form of comprehensive involvement with so many forms of expression, encyclopedic. So everybody is acting out encyclopedism just by the amount of information they absorb every day in the chip body. So the Renaissance ideal is back, but it does not serve to elucidate the field, because we're way beyond just the Renaissance that Gutenberg provided. We've got a Renaissance of species, Renaissance of states of machinic being. So it's a Renaissance of forms.
in Florence, Leonardo will engage in conversations with the brightest minds that the Medici will bring to their salons, and he was able to talk with them and exchange manuscripts or books and have access to these.
Now, was he the main guest of the salon or just another member?
Well, he worked for the Medicis in Florence.
Yeah.
So he was always there when he was in Florence. Before
So he had access to a lot of information.
Yes, and the other thing is that we have to open ourselves to other types of possibilities that Ion has been talking about, that we are not only limited to the Gutenberg galaxy or to conversations to gain knowledge, and that's something that Leonardo also engaged. He actually traveled to the future and was retrieving a lot of knowledge in other ways that are known to the ascended. There is a castle that was built by the King of France, Frank I.
Yes.
At first I was surprised because there is a portrait of the king, and on the tapestry behind him you can see like a sort of cartoon of a king with a crown. in the motif of the tapestry, and that same motif is in the RNA drops. If you turn the bottle,
Yes.
you can see this king with three faces, like the face is looking at the past, the present, and the future at the same time.
Right. That's among the coronacolic column or whatever it's
Yes,
called. Doric
well,
column,
you see
correct?
the ionic column. If you turn it around, you can see this
Yes.
crowned emperor with his crown. And so I was surprised to recognize that in that painting of that king. I was like, what is that?
Right.
And then I went to. I was very surprised to see that he built a castle that was supposed to be a hunt castle called Chambord
Right.
in La Loire. And it's an amazing castle that costed 10 times what a cathedral will cost. And everybody wonders how come he built such a castle in the middle of nowhere, spends 6% of the whole revenue of France into that castle. And then no plans are known of the castle, and nobody really knows who designed the castle, but many say it's evident that it was Leonardo, because Leonardo was brought back when the king conquered Milan. He invited Leonardo to come to France, and he spent the last 3 years of his life in France, and that was actually his last project. And there are some elements of the style that are only found in Leonardo, like the idea of a central doppel stairway.
Yeah.
That's only made by Leonardo. It's like two stairs that cross like a braid, like the DNA.
Yes.
But like somebody can go up and other people can go down and they don't see each other. Like
Wow.
and many people say this was made like that because of security reasons, like the king can go down or up in his own stair and without having to find somebody else. Or but it's actually the representation of the Ascension. When you come into this castle, the first thing you see is this stairway, and you have this impulse to ascend. And if you go up, at the end, there is nothing. It's like everybody's surprised, like they're expecting what are we going to find at the end of the stairs. And then there is a lot of encrypted allegories and messages, and there's a lot of crowns. And the flower list that also comes from the blue lotus Egyptian symbol. The salamander and the eights. That they're all symbols of eternity, of eternal regeneration, eternal life. The stone which was built is a white stone that is this type of limestone is made during volcanic eruptions. The ashes of the kind of are like cement, and they build big blocks. And this
Wow.
white limestone has a high content of magnesium. Other colors are, for example, have copper, like the green ones. They are pink, or there are different colors.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And so you've got the white stone metaphor, or
Yes, and it
actuality
was
coming.
brought from a very far away place. It's like if this was a hunt castle, he could make something easier.
A
With
hunting
castle with any local stone. Why would he
Yeah.
bring this white stone? And Ion is saying the only element that doesn't change now with all the changes occurring is magnesium. So I suppose it has to be this stone.
Right.
And it's also a stone that can be sculpted in very fine forms because it's not that hard. So the sculptures are really fine, and some of the sculptures, the ornaments, are inverted, and some say it was a mistake, but you cannot make a mistake for the King of France. It was made
Right.
like that because when you know what Diane is saying about parallel worlds and portals, for me this is like a marking of a portal. And
Yes.
the castle is made according to a plan that is supposed to represent a vortex. And for Leonardo, the vortex was the principle of life. And it's like a swastika, something that turns around on its axis.
Right.
But the three parts are the same, perfect symmetry, and then the northeast wing, the
Right.
place where the area where the royal chambers were located, is inverted again. And for the Cartesian French architects, this is like, why do they break this amazing, beautiful logic, this beautiful symmetry like that? There must be a geological thing going on that they have to turn around the plan, or they have to find other logical explanations to this inverted wing. But for me, it's just like a parallel world, like a portal. Like for Leonardo, always used this mirror writing, like it was a big theme. This parallel world, the mirror, that is also a big meme in Iondom. And
Yes.
so it's amazing that there is this big castle in the middle of nowhere. None of them, Leonardo or the king, live enough to see this castle finished. The king was only like 9 times there.
Only 9 times.
Yes, and Leonardo actually died in the arms of the king. But maybe he didn't die. Who knows? Maybe he just went somewhere else.
And the quote is that he said to the king that he had wasted his life. Now, the only way someone like him, with his abilities and what he did do, he accomplished a lot, would think that he wasted his life is that he discovered other worlds. And he just started to get to that level of knowledge, and it made all his artwork puny. You know what I mean? I think that's a statement of, holy crap, look what I could have been doing. All this parallel world traveling and parallel world
And I was
economy.
planning parties for the Duke of Milan.
Yeah.
And he
Right,
was being the
right.
Frank Zappa doing the DOFA for the
He was, yeah.
aristocracy.
Yeah, for the world soccer.
But
Okay, so here-
yes, but I mean, all these elements. When you have heard Ion and you see this castle, you can read it in a total different way. And for me, was like the confirmation that there is a lot much more in all this. There is a lot of truth in this, and this is like a like a proof that it's standing
A
there.
real shocker.
with all these
Exactly.
elements, because another of the elements that is a novelty for that castle is that all the apartments are made the same. There is no, like for as if the people that is going to live in this castle are all in the same level. There is no hierarchy, and that's a total novelty at the time. Like they're not showing any
Social hierarchy.
titles, yeah,
Yeah.
and all the apartments are the same for everybody, and that's very modern. And it's like, why will they build that and then left it empty?
Right.
It was never really used. Now people can visit, but it's like
Well, those,
everybody says it's obvious that they had a higher agenda, a higher philosophic, politic, ionic agenda.
right. No,
That
it's a
for
good
us is very
discovery.
evident, and it's like a movie.
Yeah, no, it's very good discovery you've made there. Now, did you notice when I posted the notes to Eric's new book, Cynic Satire, and I mentioned mimesis plus vortex? You go, mimesis plus vortex. Did you see my answer?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, here's what I wrote. I just went to Eric's book, page 163. He has the word mimesis and it's italicized. And it says, mimesis, he says, mimesis then is not some abstract property, but a real vortex of tangible affective power surrounding and forming the entelechy of the logos. So he does have the word vortex in the same sentence as mimesis. I'll read it again. Mimesis then is not some abstract property, but a real vortex of tangible affective, that's an A, tangible affective power surrounding and forming the entelechy of the logos. So I thought you'd find that pretty interesting when you saw that. Mimesis and vortex put together.
Yes, in a way, that's the castle.
Yes, yeah.
And this is, it's so amazing for me to see that, like Ion says, there were ascended people that were engaging other types of accessing to knowledge and retrieving technologies, and is this new type of being that has no limitations and can engage art and science, and it's like one thing. It's like we are in the post-literate, and we are getting free of this specialization again, because I mean the amount of files of big data that we have at our disposition is amazing, and this is going to create a new revolution in how we learn and how we communicate, and it's just the beginning. With we need the ionic technology, like you said. McLuhan thought we cannot live at the speed of light, but we need to reset to be able to live even faster than the speed of light.
That's right. So, you know, I have a composer friend who used to edit the Canadian magazine Music Works, which dealt with, you know, experimental music. So I sent her our dialogue about Frank Zappa. Now, I don't know if she's going to listen to any of it, but I told her that with your help, we are moving into a new level of music theory. We actually would like composers and people who teach musical theory to consider what we're saying about Zappa. So I was going to ask you, how could you explain to someone in the musical world, say a university professor and composer, how what we're doing is the new song? How would you do that. It would be the best way to have them listen to the Zappa dialogue, because Zappa's the best to jump off from.
Well, there are many aspects of what Ion is saying about frequency and about speech, and how
Yeah.
the only thing that really exists is sound or frequency. Not what we see is all illusion.
Yeah.
For example, I remember when as I was looking at the plan of the castle, another of the things that one only found in Leonardo is he always wanted to make central composition in the buildings he made, and he usually used cross. That's the chromosome 14 too. And the plan looks very similar to some of the cymatics when you put some sand on a plate and you
Yes.
play a frequency, they start creating forms. And
Yeah.
there is a frequency where you can see something very similar to the plan of the castle, like this cross with these different parts, like really, really similar to that design. And then they start incrementing the frequency, and it sounds higher and higher and higher, and the pattern becomes more complex, and at the end looks more like a lotus flower. That's how I can relate the cross, the chromosome
Yes.
14, and the fleur de lis, the blue lotus, which is the lotus flower, because science says we are going to increase our frequency, and we are saying also we have to be able to digest with all our bodies a lot of information. Our computers are going to be extreme fast, so we have to digest all this mega information overflow.
Yes.
We have to increase our frequency, and like Ion says, we're going from the cross to the lotus.
Yes.
Like you can see it in the cymatics experiments, how you increase the frequency and it goes. So it's a new tuning that was also that has been done all the time. We have been trying to tune to the cosmos, to God, like the Greeks,
As an
the
outer
Vedas.
As an outer kingdom.
The Bach with the clavier, the well-tempered clavier, and Ion is always saying this is a new tuning. We have to tune in.
Right.
So this is like the metaphoric thing, and also he always says it's a new way of talking, that we're learning how to talk with Bob and
Right.
listening to Bob and Ion, because for me conversation is like making music. You listen and then you have to respond, and
Yeah.
and like Bach said, the different parts of the music have to be equally informed to be able to perform together, to have a conversation together. And
Right. No, that's it.
he made this counterpoint music with this idea
Yes.
of different things communicating and creating
Conversing.
harmony, and yes, I think it's like what Joyce or Nostradamus were trying to do. They were communicating, also Leonardo, they were communicating the iONic, but they had to encrypt it. They encode it because it could not be understood for many reasons before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even now, some people may think we are totally bollocks.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are
Bollocks.
thousands of hours of archives of information you can engage, you can go. And this is the chart. The chart is a composition of all these conversations, and you can engage all these different lines of thinking, and what I like is that you can accept LaRouche or Thompson or any thinker, and you don't fight against this, anything,
Right.
or you are not fanatic about something you like. It's just like, here are all these wonderful ideas, and just explore them, and because this is where we're going. We are going to be even more submerged into this ocean of information, and you have to be ready to
Yeah.
be in that vortex, to have the
Okay.
barrel to survive.
Right, no, that's a good answer, and it seems to me then that the music and painting, the arts, were trying to cause something in the outer kingdom, and behind them we have the new song, which is the changing of your body is a new instrument. The musical goals, the musical metaphors are pale compared to what we're going to do with ourselves as creators. It makes a symphony look rather puny. A bunch of people sitting around listening to, 50 orchestra membered harmonies, melodies, and counterpoint. That is a chip off the old block. So it's interesting that ion means by the new song, the clothing, the apparatus, the chemicals you'll eat, your whole environment that you'll make your mythic stage is the content of music today. And if anybody can make music with the digital equipment, then that makes nothing special about music. So whatever people got from music has to come from another form of experience. The new song. So I'm just supplementing what you said there. That was a good explanation you gave. So why don't you ask me some different kinds of questions, maybe ad hoc, spontaneous things. What are other things that are you're interested in?
Well, for example, now that we're talking about that, I was thinking about the Buddhians, because they're also communicating with us with these crop cycles.
Yeah.
That are made with frequencies, and some of their designs are very complex, and it's also this same type of communication with frequencies creating patterns.
So the Booleans and the crop circles are a form of cymatics.
Yes,
Cymatics, yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. It's a good reference point.
Yeah, so what would you think is going on there? That there is also this other conversation going on that we maybe haven't.
Right. The recording that we offer about talking to whales, what the whales think about. It was in that recording where Ion at the end talks about the crop circles, and I can't particularly remember it right now. But he had an interesting explanation of what was going on with the crop circles. With the Evergreens, we tend to anthropomorphize the idea of the Booleans, and the Evergreens have described them as similar to our form as we are today, but they had some slight differences. I get from Ion that there's another kind of form that's doing the communicating in the crop circles. Ion is changing our ideas of what the human form is for, and so that the evergreen scenario seems a little too concrete. Ion is implying that your communication techniques are your form. So when people are staring at their chip bodies, at their iPhones, they're trying to respond to frequencies coming at them. so that their form is not what they appear to be. It doesn't, they may not be dumbed down by just staring at their iPhones and not paying attention to the external world around them. The external world has been superseded by a more relevant frequency that's coming out of the iPhones, which is preparing people for the iONic frequencies. Just a thought that occurred to me as we were talking.
Yes, it's true, because it's like we're being mutated. And there's always this fear about mutating, but we were already robots with the Gutenberg
The
Galaxy.
print world. Yeah.
And many people thought the evolution will take place in these hybrids between chips and chip bodies. That we were going to become cyborgs. But the true reset and the true evolution is taking place with the activation of the chromosome 14 and this somehow tuning in at the cellular level to another frequency that is, it's another type of communication first between your cells, and this is changing, perfecting.
Yeah, there was On What Youth, I think his name is Jason, he calls up from Canada. He's a younger guy in his 20s, I think. And he was saying that he's going to ascend without the drops. He didn't want to buy our products. And I was telling him, no, you can't ascend or transcend without the drops. Now, he's thinking that there's some place to go to, and that he'll shift and get into another frequency, and that might approximate the ascended feeling. But what he's not understanding is that you want to take the drops because the drops are manufacturing new frequencies. They're creating new environments that you cannot appreciate.
Yeah,
if you're not
the
taking
thing
the
is,
drops.
people have to understand this is like a new science.
Yeah.
And there is explanations for all these things. How the eye cell is affecting your other cells. And we always had this metaphor of like the printer has less ink, so the copies are have less quality in each copy, so you have to put again new ink to make the copies perfect again. So this is the eye cell is like injecting new ink in your cells to regenerate perfectly, because the thing with aging is your cells are always regenerating, but the copies are somehow have some defect.
Right,
and then the copy has more defects and more and more and more, and this is degrading the resolution.
Yeah.
So the eye cell is perfecting again, that the regeneration can take forever in a perfect way. And there is, I mean, you need these minerals and this chemistry to communicate. It's another type of communication, chemistry that has
It's a new kind of food. Let me say this. People are thinking that they can think themselves, fantasize themselves into more evolved states of apprehension. And what if, though, that all this time people wanted technologies, they wanted new experiences, and that's normal, and that was okay, that was healthy. What about the continuing of that drive by eating new foods? And you are supposed to mutate yourself, not make a major mutation, but to actually engage in the transformation of yourself constantly with something like the eye cell. It's interesting presenting it to people. They think about their bodies in all these old terms, whether they're being conned or being used or going to get addicted to it. It has not, it's like McLuhan said, the waking life has not perceived Finnegan's Wake yet. Finnegan's Wake was still a hidden ground when he wrote Playboy magazine in 1970. So what I'm saying is the role of the eye cell has not been understood by humans, those that heard about it. They have these old-fashioned ideas that they can will themselves into some desirable, righteous condition. So the idea that food is to be enjoyed, but then when you get the real food, then that replaces all the other implements which are used as food. But once you have the real food, then you can enjoy the implements, the old technologies, a lot more vibrantly. This could be what the meaning of the Last Supper was. And the reason it was the Last Supper is they were all going to get mutated and go somewheres, transform and fly off to some other dimension, another world. The essence of the consumption of the drops and the eye cell is a revolutionary act in itself. That's the political change.
Yes, and I was telling you the mother of the King of France had that a copy of the Last Supper, a big tapestry the king saw as a child. And they knew, both Leonardo and the king knew about the iONic, and for me that's amazing, because it's like,
yes,
it's not the reality goes beyond any fantasy. and it's really beautiful how things are being revealed.
Yeah, Ian says that Leonardo taught a lot to Michelangelo and influenced what Michelangelo painted in the Sistine Chapel. And Michelangelo knew about the R cell and the I cell and iondom and put that in one of the paintings. He has a image of Carolyn there. And I guess he could see that that's what iondom was going to do through the personage of Carolyn. Now, I'm not speaking about this stuff as a cult. You know, as much as it sounds like a cult, we're trying not to be a cult. And we get testimonials all the time on our medical shows about the amazing effects of our products. So we will keep saying it and telling people that the new art, you know, artists wanted to, became popular in the 19th century, was to make your life your art. Well, we now have the means to make your livingry can now be enhanced by the artistic process of consuming the eye cell. That is the opera. That is the dance, the ballet. That is the painting, the sculpture, the tableau. It is the special cuisine and what was represented in the Mass by our Catholic buddies.
The new type of creation, which Ian said, is you're going to make your own kingdom, your own empire. Yes. It starts with you first perfecting your own physical body.
Right.
To start this process of ascension. But I mean, we could use other words, but these are the words that somehow are there, and maybe we also have already changed some concepts. Like Ion never likes to talk about awareness. He talks about recollected lucidity.
Yes.
And he says,
and he doesn't like talking about consciousness.
Yeah, he doesn't like to talk about understanding, because he says is
you're standing under.
Yes, it's only remembering the knowing what we are
right.
doing. We're not understanding. And
Ian doesn't think that people need to be awake. that's the limitation in Eric's thesis on Finnegan's Wake as a Menippean doctrine expressing cynic philosophy. The cynic would do anything to wake up humans. He thought that the humans were somnambulists, sleepwalking through their daily lives. And Einstein says that's not the case. And they don't require waking up. So the whole cynical enterprise of Menippean creations is canceled out if the creator is including the idea of waking up the population.
Yes, and like that, we are changing also the language as things are evolving, the words we are using, because and Ion, one of the things he uses a lot is satire and this anti-archetype of what we will think is the non-physical, with his type of voice, his making fun, his jokes, his playing with words. He's the anti-archetype of what people would like to have as a cult leader.
Yes, as an icon of worship. Now, here's an interesting point. What you find on the commentary on the web, somebody does an interview with somebody, does an article in the New York Times or LA Times, or some kind of presentation of information, and then the audience has a free-for-all by all kinds of commentary. This goes on for pages and pages of people commenting on whatever article they read. And the most common assumption they have, the most common attitude is that everybody else is going down and is mass stupidity. Everybody's seeing mass stupidity everywhere. And saying that, they have different predicted results. The Americans are going to get their comeuppance. Humanity is going to be shocked by what's coming. And that is the biggest cliche of internet consciousness or World Wide Web consciousness, is that the user of the chip body surveys the other bodies in the other worlds and finds them lacking. What you realize with Ion is that he comes in and breaks down every one of those assumptions, that your people are being dumbed down, that people are useless, that people are a waste of time, humanity is ending. Ion does not work with that kind of perception. He might say it as a passing thought based on the ratios of what the person who's listening is thinking. But I think it's when something's obsolete, there's a lot of it. And so there's a lot of superiority complex expressed by everybody on the in the columns, in the commentary. And so this inflated individual with the 5 bodies, this chip-bodied, mystery-landscaped anomaly person, which is every one of the people reading newspapers and books and commenting online, there's a huge super inflation. And that's why everything that Ian says to us about you are a God and you can't go wrong and everything's working out perfectly for you is the attitude that people have, that they're okay and everybody else isn't. That's the most common, I don't want to say mistake, but it is the new bias, the new incomplete perception. And as you understand more and more what Ian says, he is cracking up, breaking up that superiority that everybody is being adapted to, and feeling that they are super aware and everybody else is a despondent disaster.
Yes, I could answer like, I resonate with that, because people are also using this type of cliches,
yes,
phrases and memes and ideas. And for example, when they talk about these frequencies, they always talk about the sacred geometry created by these frequencies. And it's not sacred, it's just figures that are
Yes,
created by that frequencies. It's just an effect of the
for a
frequency,
while.
but it's not sacred like
They're
that.
not laws. They're patterns that might have a standing life for a few weeks because the mixture of the framework around it evokes that kind of mathematical symmetry, but it does not last. That's the problem with the sacred geometry studies. They're trying to lock down to find the sacred original pattern, and Ion points out those patterns are not available. They're not. They don't exist. They don't exist.
Yes, I mean it's like all this visual bias. Gutenberg galaxy likes this type of sacred geometry theory and visuals, but
Right.
no, we just say this frequency creates these patterns, but and like that we are trying to present all these things, all this mystery landscape without going back to that type of new age and religious
Cliche kind of excitement. Cliche excitement.
Yes, of course, it's the discoveries are amazing, and I often just look at the ceiling and say, "Wow, this is incredible." But we try to keep cool. Oh, the escape broke down.